Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Lincoln. I'm a new media artist teaching at Whitman College in Walla Walla, Washington. Uh, Today is March 20th, 2020. This is the first in a series of discussions with artists and creative thinkers during the international period of quarantine based on the COVID virus. This project, currently titled Nothing Doing, is meant as a resource for my students during a period of distant or online learning. It is also meant for any other creative person during this period. Today, I'm happy to welcome Brian McGuigan, writer and program director at Artist Trust. Hi, Brian. Can you tell us more about yourself and Artist Trust?
Sure. So I guess I'll start with myself. I'm a writer. I've been working on a memoir now for about 8 years. I've written a few essays that have been published and have been working on poems for some time, though I kind of consider myself a retired poet now, but we'll see. Maybe I'll come back to it. I'm also a dad. I have 2 kids, and I've been working in the arts community now for 15 years. I've been at Artist Trust for the last 5, and before that, I was at Hugo House for a long, long time. And I've moonlighted doing community events and organizing and curating and so on. So one of those people that's been around for some time, even though it feels like it's only been a minute at the same time. As far as Artist Trust goes, it's a nonprofit arts organization that was founded in 1986 around the time of the culture wars, which I feel like we're there now, but maybe the culture wars on steroids. I don't even know how to describe the time we're in right now. But it was founded as a way to provide support for individual artists at a time when there was very little support. And the organization gives out grants to individual artists. At this point, we give out roughly about a little over $300,000 a year to individuals, strictly in Washington State, artists of all disciplines. Also provide professional development programming, resources, and advocacy work, and bringing artists together, artists and community together to connect, to share, to learn, and so on.
Thank you very much. Actually, I've been aware of Artist Trust for a while now, and another thing I really appreciate on Artist Trust's website is their opportunities list. That's a really great resource for any artist at any level. And I would also encourage artists to apply for the grants that the Artist Trust enables.
You mentioned the opportunities because that's something that's how I found my job at Artist Trust, was on the opportunities page. I found quite a few grants for my own work on that page, and then many more that I've applied for that I haven't received. But that's part of the process, you know, as an artist, like you're just applying and applying and applying, and you see what comes and what doesn't, and then you bounce back and keep going. So yeah, the opportunities page is an awesome resource for folks to be able to find information and to apply for stuff.
Yeah, and I also think what you just said about the name of the game being to apply and apply and apply. I think that that's something in particular that young artists need to hear. And you just need to get used to that process. But I think it's also a really good learning process to organize yourself and your materials to do exactly that.
Yeah, when you're a maker, like you're just making the thing and you think like everyone's going to understand it, but by applying for grants, you're able to articulate what you're actually doing, you know, to an audience that might not be inside of your head able to understand what you're trying to pull off conceptually or thematically or whatever. So yeah, it's a great way to figure out what you're doing as an artist.
Yeah. Now, what we're doing as artists is probably my big question in this series, particularly in light of recent events. How has the quarantine affected your life and your creative practice?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm more in the social distancing camp than the quarantine, just by nature of the work that I do, like working in community. I've had to come to the office Starting on Monday, I'll be working remotely, so I'll be fully quarantined at that point, besides when I go outside to see the sun, assuming we can do that still. And it's had an incredible impact on my life. Just the anxiety of it all, like not knowing what to expect and what's going to come next, I think is the hardest part. And for somebody like me who likes to feel in control of my life and in control of what's going on around me as much as possible, of course, that's, I think, been the hardest part. I'm not sleeping very well. I probably, like last night, I went to sleep at 1 and woke up at 5, and it was kind of fits and starts, just because the worry of what's going on in the world kind of weighs heavily on me. It also motivates me to do the work that I'm doing. I mean, in the last week at Artist Trust, we've raised almost $300,000 to directly support artists who have been deeply impacted by the virus. Folks who are struggling to pay bills, to make rent, to feed their families, folks with medical expenses, and so on. Because this is basically destroyed the economy in our state and in the world too. So in a way, it's depressed me, but it's also motivated me to work harder, because I see so many people in the community who are struggling, and I see our arts community really grieving over the loss of the ability to connect in person. Like IRL is kind of impossible right now, and I think that's something that means a lot to me. Like I love being able to look at you through the screen, Justin, but it would be so much better if we could be together, having a beer and kind of shoot the shit, which is just not possible.
Well, it's kind of odd because also just on a visual level right now, as I'm looking at the screen, I think because of the internet speed, you are particularly low resolution right now. Like as you move, it gets kind of glitchy and in a strange way, I would argue it's kind of painterly. But yeah, it would be much better if we could be meeting in real life. Though I don't know, even that IRL, I've heard some really good questioning of that, because this is real life as well. But even to share our bodily presence is definitely something we're not doing. We're doing something real right now, and increasingly, I think people are going to be doing more of this. But circling back to the grant that you just talked about, it's basically an emergency grant, correct?
Yeah, it's a rapid response grant to provide relief for artists who've been impacted by the virus. So it's pretty broad in terms of what we'll cover. It's not about, submitting work and showing artistic excellence or any of the things that normally come with a grant. It's really just about serving folks who are in need.
Well, when I post this video, I will certainly post a link to that. And I guess, though I had a whole list of questions, I might go a little bit out of order and just kind of move from that particular link and that resource to maybe other resources that we are aware of. One thing that I am also aware of that you're involved with is a Facebook group. Could you tell us about that Facebook group?
Sure. It's the COVID-19 response group for Washington State artists. And it was something that I started last Saturday now. It's hard to believe it's been a week. It feels like it's been years. And invited 10 people to it. And now it has over 3,000 members. And the idea behind it was to create a digital space where we can build community and connect with each other, knowing that we're going to have fewer and fewer opportunities to connect IRL, and also to share resources, to share information, to support each other. I know for me, I've already bought somebody's work through the Facebook group that I discovered through the group, a local gallery and art by a local artist. And I've heard from other folks who have sold work to people. People are bartering, they're exchanging, like we live in a country where, half of the country is so against our potential Democratic nominee who's a socialist, and then we live in a world where people are practicing socialism right now, and that's sort of what that group is. It's support, but it's also people bartering and exchanging and supporting each other through skill sharing and knowledge sharing. And I think that's really powerful, and it speaks to the moment that we're in right now, where I hate to get political, but our capitalist system is crumbling before us because of this virus, and people really need to rally together and support each other beyond the kind of usual levels of support. And I feel like that group is a great opportunity to have that moment together, and for us to like be together as artists and survive this thing.
Yeah, it is frustrating that as artists, but also just as citizens, we have to provide our own social supports, that the tax money that we pay our government is being siphoned to different ends, and making certain people particularly rich. But getting back into art making and art resources, another Facebook group that I've been watching very closely is a group that was started by, I believe, a couple of members of the New Media Caucus. This is a group associated with the College Art Association. And this group is called Online Art and Design Instruction in the Age of Social Distancing. And while it is I think over the last week, it's gone through like 5 different names. This happens to be the current one. But though I think it's primarily for art instructors, I see so many names on there that I bet it's not just art instructors. I bet students are getting into the game too. And I think that like one of the interesting things that this experience is doing is that it seems to be kind of questioning certain hierarchies. The other thing that surprised me, one other resource that I'm aware of, and I think it's really timely. I'm hoping that I can get this video posted today so people might take advantage of the next opportunity, which is the website Bandcamp is offering a service where if you buy music from Bandcamp today, all proceeds go to the artist. The money is not going to Bandcamp. They're not keeping their cut. All money is going to the artist today. And I know that there are some friends of mine who are in need of support, particularly people involved in very niche, avant-garde, and unusual scenes, noise scenes, and things like that. Had a friend who, within the last, like since the beginning of the year, has lost a computer, has lost gigs, and a bunch of other things right now. And this is an opportunity where I feel that I can help him out. And I'm sure, to be honest, it's funny because I'd never been on Bandcamp before. And wow, there's a ton of stuff there. And it's gonna become another way that I'm spending a lot of my time today.
Yeah, there are so many artists who, performers and musicians that like their whole livelihood is cut off right now, so being able to support them in that way, I think is really powerful, because what else are they going to do? Can't go out and play a show, can't gig, can't really do anything.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too to jump from that to sort of impressions that I had at the beginning of this experience versus my lived reality. When I knew that we would be quarantined for a significant amount of time, I felt, oh, well, this is my chance to catch up on reading or to get things done in the studio. And honestly, I'm not getting as much of that done as I thought I would. Um, like other things seem to, I don't know. There's some kind of mental, psychic, emotional thing that I'm dealing with to such a degree that, my amount of time reading or in the studio is about the same as when I was teaching. Right now, Whitman is on a 2-week spring break, but
Mhm.
I, I'm preparing to do online learning, which is new. And I figure
Mhm.
that things like this conversation can be part of that. So I guess if nothing else, this is becoming my new project, and I guess creative and social project. Um, but it's also an attempt to kind of rethink both, uh, I guess, both my art making, my teaching, and I don't know, figuring out what the hell we all do.
Yep. Yeah, the thing that I've been struggling with is, I've been working on this project for some time. I'm ready to kind of roll it out. I have my list of agents. I'm about to go through the query process. And when I sat down last weekend to get started on that, I was just so distracted. The noise in my head around what's going on around us, it felt overwhelming and really made it hard to concentrate and focus on my own creative work. And it also made me think, like, does this really matter right now? Like, does my, I think my story is really important to the world, but it's also my story, and there's so many other stories right now that I think are really critical. So was just really struggling with that part of it, and trying to put my own practice aside to be able to support others, knowing that we're probably going to be in this for quite some time, and I hope to return to my own work eventually. But it's probably maybe this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of a weekend warrior, just with having a job and kids and everything. It's hard to find the time, but we'll see how it goes, and if I can dive back in. I also was struggling to read. I picked up a few books, knowing that we might end up in this situation, and I thought, oh, well, let me get like 8 or 10 books so I can like have some stuff to do. But it's been hard to concentrate on that too. I just find that I'm constantly glued to my phone, trying to learn more about what's going on in the world. And then also connecting people with resources. I've had a lot of folks like messaging me or emailing me or texting me like, hey, what about this? What about that? Do you know somebody who can do this? Or people just want to talk too, so trying to be available in that way. Yes, it's hard to think about being creative right now and really struggling to find that time.
Yeah, I think that actually an experience like this one, where we are speaking face to face, albeit virtually, I really prefer this kind of thing right now to constantly checking my social feed, quote unquote social feed. Um, there's a book that I read recently called How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell. And I perhaps am going to be paraphrasing her name for the social feed, but something like the panic machine. And,
Mhm.
I think stepping away from the panic machine and I don't know, doing something that is more direct like this seems
Mhm.
really important. And, you know, just in terms of the way that that seems to improve my feelings, that might be my best advice to anyone who can do that right now. Um, and I right now I'm quarantined with my family, and it's great to have my family with me. I feel my heart goes out to anyone who's separated from their family or people that are really close to them right now. But even beyond that, having this experience of seeing what other people are going through outside of my bubble and my quarantine is really becoming important to me. and I'm hoping to do more of it. I believe last night when I had messaged you, you had recommended a couple of people for me to potentially approach or interview. And let's see, maybe one of the things, let's see, as opposed to directly naming names or any of that right now, you had mentioned that you've been messaging with a lot of people. Who's up to something interesting right now? Where where might you direct our eyes, uh,
Mm,
fingers right now online?
sure. Well, I've been really inspired by the artists who are taking innovative approaches to creating community right now. There's an artist in Seattle. She's like a community organizer, conceptual artist named Natasha Marin, who put together this thing called Soul TV, where she's basically creating a streaming network for artists to share their work with each other from all over the country, and I suppose the world if people wanted to. And you can sign up for a slot, kind of like, if you were watching TV, and you have like a half-hour show or whatever. So she has these slots that you can sign up for, and then it's your time to do your thing, which is really awesome. And I think that's a great example of an artist who's like, okay, this is a crummy situation, and I can look at it like the world is ending and I'm never going to leave my home, or I can think about it in a way that leverages community and opportunity and brings people together. So that's one example. I've been super impressed with Northwest Film Forum and Vivian there, who's their director, the way they've pivoted from, having a live, like a space where people commune together, and turning that into a digital space. They moved their entire design festival online, which was supposed to be like an in-person thing where you come and watch films together. And instead she's like, all right, well, we're going to start streaming these and doing panels and stuff. And they're working to get a network online where it's live streaming of people having conversations and instructional videos and how-tos and information about artists who are coping with the virus in different ways in terms of like through their practice. And then other things too. So those are two folks that come to mind. There's a comedian here, comedian and performer, Emmett Montgomery, he gigs a lot, like a lot. He's one of those dudes that's like gigging every night. So his life is kind of upended right now because you can't gig. You can't just go do a show or do a set somewhere. So he's moved all of his shows online too, and is doing them from a performance space, but with social distance and like 3 other people there, sort of situation. But just seeing people say, okay, this is really, really bad, but I want to continue to make art and I want to continue to create space and community for people. And here's how we can do that given the technology that we have. That stuff's inspiring to me, and it makes me feel like there's some hope in the world when you go on the panic machine, like you said, and there's no hope. You read what people are writing, and you're like, oh my god, like, it's really sad. But those are the people that are giving me hope right now. We need that.
Thank you. Well, after we tie up this interview, if you could send me some of those links, I'd really be happy to share those.
Mm.
And actually, I know that you're a very busy person right now, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I think that this is really a good start, and I feel like well, I didn't know until I started this whether I'd feel like doing more, and based on my conversation with you, I would like to do more. I would like to talk to more people, and so I will keep you in the loop about that, and hopefully I can get this posted. I'm hoping by midday.
Yeah, you should totally do more of this. It's awesome just to talk to somebody. And, like you said, like I could text somebody and be in conversation all day, but there's something about being able to look at each other that has a lot more meaning and depth to it. And I mean, we're all sort of struggling with this in different ways. So I think just having a chance to process it with somebody else is kind of nice,
Yeah.
So thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'll be in touch.
All right, Justin.
All right. See you later.
Take care.